Let's get one thing clear. Attraction isn't about luck. It's not about being born with certain traits or having a specific status. It's about something deeper. Attraction doesn't just happen randomly. It's created. That's why you've seen it before. Someone becomes drawn to a person they never expected to like. A confident, self-assured man stands out, even if he doesn't fit the usual ideal. A connection grows unexpectedly because of the way someone carries themselves. Why? Because attraction isn't just about looks or wealth. It's about presence, energy, and the emotions you create in an interaction. And here's where many people get it wrong. Trying too hard to convince someone to like you, over-explaining your worth, seeking constant approval. That doesn't build attraction. It diminishes it. If someone isn't interested at first, it doesn't always mean the door is permanently closed. More often, it means the right kind of connection hasn't been created yet. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. By the end, you'll understand how attraction really works, why people feel drawn to certain individuals, and how you can naturally create those connections. Because attraction isn't about forcing interest. It's about sparking something real. And once you understand how that works, everything changes. 1. Women don't choose the perfect man. They choose the one who makes them feel something. A common mistake men make is thinking women choose based on logic. That if you check all the right boxes, good job, nice personality, stable life, she'll naturally be attracted to you. But here's the reality. Attraction is not a checklist. It's a feeling. A woman doesn't choose a man just because he's nice or stable. She chooses him because she feels drawn to him in a way she can't explain. That's why sometimes you see a woman choosing a guy who isn't the best looking, the richest, or the most obvious choice. Yet she's completely into him. It's because he makes her feel something different. He sparks curiosity, excitement, and chemistry, things that can't be bought, forced, or explained logically. Meanwhile, a man who does everything right, but doesn't create an emotional connection, will always be seen as just a friend. This doesn't mean you need to change who you are. But it does mean you need to understand that attraction isn't about proving your worth. It's about creating a connection that makes her feel something real. And once she feels it, that's when she truly starts seeing you differently. 2. Being too nice can push women away. Here's why balance matters. A lot of men believe that the best way to win a woman over is to be as nice as possible. They always agree with her, always compliment her, always make themselves available. And then they get confused when she doesn't seem interested. Here's the truth. Being kind is good. But being overly nice in a way that puts her on a pedestal can sometimes backfire. Why? Because real attraction isn't built on constant agreement. It's built on connection, respect, and a little bit of excitement. If you're always saying yes to everything she wants, never challenging her, never having your own opinion, she may start seeing you as predictable rather than intriguing. Attraction thrives on balance. Think about the people in your life that you respect the most. Are they the ones who always tell you what you want to hear? Or the ones who are kind, but also confident enough to be honest, challenge you, and stand firm in their beliefs? Women feel the same way. They're drawn to men who are genuine, kind, but also have their own sense of identity. That means you don't need to agree with everything she says just to impress her. You don't need to text her every minute of the day to prove you're interested. You don't need to put her needs above your own life to make her like you. When a man respects himself, keeps his own interests and passions, and treats a woman well without acting like he's seeking approval, he naturally becomes more attractive. It's not about being rude, dismissive, or acting uninterested. It's about having self-respect and understanding that attraction is a two-way street. A man who gives too much, too soon, can come across as someone who is trying to earn love instead of naturally building a connection. And the moment a woman feels like she has all of your attention without even putting in effort, the excitement can fade. So, instead of thinking that being nice alone is the key, focus on being a complete person. Someone who is kind, but also confident, self-assured, and independent. That's when women start seeing you differently. 3. The friend zone exists Because you allowed it. Every man has been there at some point. You meet a woman, you enjoy her company, and you think, if I just treat her well and prove I'm the right guy, she'll eventually see me differently. But instead, she says those words that sting every time. You're such a great friend. And suddenly, all your effort, all your patience, and all your time invested feel like they were for nothing. Here's the truth most men don't want to admit. The friend zone isn't something that happens to you. It's something you allow. Women naturally categorize men they meet into two groups. Men they feel attraction for. Men they see as just friends. And once you fall into the second group, it's very difficult to change that. Why does this happen? Because attraction is built early. If a woman meets you and instantly senses excitement, curiosity, or mystery, she sees you as someone she could be interested in. But if from the start, you act like a supportive best friend, someone who's always there, always available, and never giving her a reason to feel a spark, she unconsciously places you in the safe, comfortable, but non-romantic category. And here's the part that frustrates most men. They assume that one day, she'll realize how amazing they are. But that's not how attraction works. Once she sees you as a friend, she no longer wonders about you. She doesn't think about what it would be like to be with you. She doesn't feel that tension, that curiosity, that spark. And without those feelings, there's no reason for her to suddenly want something more. This doesn't mean you should be rude, manipulative, or pretend to be something you're not. But it does mean that if you want a woman to see you differently, you need to approach the interaction differently from the start. Don't always be the guy who listens to all her problems while secretly hoping she'll like you. Don't act like her best friend while wanting to be more. Be clear in your intentions, show confidence, and make her see you as a potential partner, not just a shoulder to lean on. Because women don't friend zone men they feel attraction for. They friend zone the ones who never made them feel it in the first place. 4. Confidence is more attractive than looks, money, or status. A lot of men believe that if they just had more money, looked better, or had a higher status, women would automatically be interested in them. But if that were true, then every wealthy man, every model, and every famous person would always have perfect relationships. And we all know that's not the case, because attraction isn't just about how much you have. It's about how you carry yourself. A man who truly believes in himself, who walks into a room with quiet confidence, who doesn't feel the need to prove his worth, that's the man who stands out. Meanwhile, a man who might have good looks, a great job, or high status, but constantly doubts himself, hesitates, and seeks validation will struggle, no matter what he has. Confidence isn't about arrogance. It's not about acting better than others, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about being secure in who you are, knowing your own worth, and moving through life without needing constant reassurance from others. Think about it. Have you ever seen a man who wasn't conventionally attractive, but still had a presence that made people respect him? He speaks clearly, without second-guessing himself. He makes decisions without waiting for others to approve. He doesn't apologize for being himself. That kind of energy naturally draws people in. On the other hand, a man who is always hesitant, always over-apologizing, always looking for approval, creates the opposite effect. Because people, especially women, can feel insecurity. A woman doesn't look at a man and think, oh, he's unsure of himself, but at least he has nice shoes. No, if a man carries himself like he's not worthy, she'll believe him. This is where a lot of men need to wake up. Confidence doesn't come from waiting until you're perfect. It comes from deciding that you are already enough, and acting like it. So stop worrying about whether you meet some imaginary standard. Instead, focus on carrying yourself like a man who knows his own value. Because the second you stop waiting for permission to be confident, women will start seeing you differently. 5. Women will test you, and most men fail. Here's something most men don't realize. Women will test you. Not because they're playing games, not because they're trying to be difficult, but because they want to see what kind of man you really are. It's not something they do consciously most of the time. It's instinct. A woman might challenge you in small ways. She might make a joke at your expense to see how you react. She might disagree with you just to test your confidence. She might take a little longer to respond and see if you stay composed or get desperate. And the way you handle those moments will determine whether she feels more drawn to you or loses interest completely. Most men fail these tests without even realizing it. They get upset and defensive. They try too hard to prove themselves. They suddenly change their behavior to seek approval. And at that moment, she sees the truth. She sees whether you're actually the confident, self-assured man you appeared to be, or if you were just putting on an act. The men who pass, they don't react emotionally. They stay calm, they stay playful, and they don't get thrown off. If a woman playfully challenges them, they don't get offended. They laugh and respond with confidence. If she takes longer to reply, they don't panic and double text. They stay focused on their own life and let things flow naturally. If she disagrees with them, they don't backtrack and change their opinion to match hers. They stand firm in what they believe. Because a man who is truly secure in himself doesn't get shaken by small things. And women can feel that. That's why one man might get ignored after a small challenge, while another man might win her respect by handling the same situation with ease. Because at the end of the day, women want to know, are you the kind of man who can handle pressure, stay grounded, and keep your confidence no matter what? If the answer is yes, then you pass the test. And when you pass the test, you stand out. 6. Trying to impress her is the fastest way to lose her. A lot of men make this mistake. They try too hard. The moment they meet a woman they like, they switch into performance mode. They talk about their job, their achievements, their money, anything to prove they're a catch. They agree with everything she says, just to avoid conflict. They go out of their way to be extra nice, extra available, extra accommodating. And then they wonder why she suddenly loses interest. Here's why. Real confidence doesn't need to be proven. It speaks for itself. A man who is truly comfortable with himself doesn't feel the need to list his accomplishments or convince a woman he's worthy. He lets his actions, his presence, and his energy do the talking. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who was trying too hard to impress you? It usually has the opposite effect. Instead of making you think, wow, this person is amazing, it makes you feel like they're desperate for approval. And desperation kills attraction. When a man is overly eager to impress a woman, it shifts the power dynamic. He's trying to win her over, instead of just getting to know her naturally. He's chasing validation, instead of focusing on whether they genuinely connect. He's putting her on a pedestal, instead of acting like an equal. And women can sense this instantly. Meanwhile, the men who stand out, they don't over-explain themselves. They don't try to prove their worth. They let things flow naturally. Instead of trying to impress a woman, they focus on being present, being interesting, and enjoying the interaction. They don't act like they're hoping for approval. They act like they already know their own value, whether she sees it or not. And that confidence? That's what makes her interested. So if you've ever found yourself over-explaining, over-complimenting, or over-proving, stop. Instead of focusing on convincing her to like you, focus on being the kind of man who naturally draws people in. Because when you stop chasing approval, you'll notice something surprising. That's when women start paying attention. 7. If she's not interested, it's because you haven't created attraction. Yet most men assume that when a woman isn't interested, it's set in stone. They hear, "I don't see you that way," and immediately accept it as a final decision. But here's what most men don't realize. Attraction isn't a fixed thing. It's something that can be created. A woman's feelings about you aren't permanent. They're based on the energy you bring, the emotions you spark, and the way you carry yourself. Have you ever seen a woman suddenly start noticing a guy she once ignored? Maybe at first she didn't think much of him, but over time something changed. He became more confident. He stopped trying so hard. He started focusing on his own life. And suddenly, she saw him differently. That's because attraction isn't about convincing her to like you. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally sparks interest. If a woman isn't drawn to you yet, It's usually because you're coming across as too eager, and it's lowering your value. You're playing it too safe, and she's not feeling any excitement. You're focusing on what she wants, instead of being your own person. And when these things happen, a woman doesn't feel curiosity, mystery, or excitement, so she doesn't feel attraction. But the good news? You can change that. Instead of worrying about whether she likes you, focus on whether you're presenting the best version of yourself. Instead of putting all your energy into impressing her, put it into becoming a more confident, well-rounded man. Instead of waiting for her approval, set the tone and lead the interaction. Because when a man stops trying to get attention and starts living with confidence, women notice. And often, the same woman who once said, "I'm not interested," starts wondering, why does he seem different now? That's when attraction shifts. That's when things change. Because when you start focusing on being someone worth noticing, women start noticing you. 8. Women say they want one thing, but respond to something else. A lot of men get confused because what women say they want and what they actually respond to aren't always the same. Ask a woman what she's looking for in a man, and she'll give you a logical answer. I want someone who is nice, caring, and treats me well. I want a man who listens and supports me. I want a guy who is emotionally available. And yet, how many times have you seen those same women become drawn to men who don't fit that description at all? It's not that women are being dishonest. It's that attraction isn't based on logic. It's based on emotion. A woman may genuinely believe she wants a nice guy, but if that nice guy lacks confidence, excitement, or any sense of challenge, she won't feel drawn to him. That's because attraction is about energy and chemistry, not just kindness. Think about it. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who was extremely polite but completely uninteresting? On paper, they were doing everything right. But there was no spark, no intrigue, no reason to keep thinking about them after they left. It's the same with attraction. A woman may appreciate kindness, but if she doesn't feel excitement, curiosity, or emotional intensity, she won't feel that deeper pull toward you. This doesn't mean you should ignore what women say. It just means you should pay attention to what they actually respond to. Women are drawn to confidence more than compliments. They respond to intrigue more than instant availability. They feel attraction toward men who lead, not men who seek approval. So instead of focusing on doing everything by the book, focus on what actually creates attraction. Be kind, but don't be passive. Be attentive, but don't be overly eager. Be available, but don't make her your entire focus. Because the moment you start paying attention to what women are actually drawn to, rather than just what they say, you'll start seeing completely different results. And once you understand that, everything changes. 9. Rejection doesn't mean it's over. It means you need a different approach. Most men take rejection way too personally. They hear a woman say, "I'm not interested," and they assume it's the end of the road, that nothing they do can change it. But here's the truth. Rejection isn't always about you as a person. It's about how you approach the situation. Women don't reject men just because they don't like them. More often, they reject men because the approach felt forced or unnatural. There was no excitement or chemistry. The interaction felt more like a job interview than a genuine connection. And here's what most men don't realize. Attraction isn't something that's decided in one moment. It can change. How many times have you seen a woman who once ignored a guy suddenly become interested in him later? It happens when he stops chasing and starts focusing on his own life. He develops more confidence and becomes more naturally engaging. He improves himself instead of waiting for someone else's validation. And suddenly, the same woman who once overlooked him starts seeing him differently. That's because rejection isn't a permanent label. It's a sign that something in your approach wasn't clicking. Instead of seeing rejection as a final verdict, see it as valuable feedback. Ask yourself, was I trying too hard to impress her instead of just being myself? Did I come across as too passive, too eager, or too predictable? Did I create real attraction? Or was I just being nice without any excitement. Because the truth is, attraction isn't just about being the right guy. It's about creating the right dynamic. So instead of feeling discouraged, focus on improving your approach. Work on your confidence. Build a life that naturally makes you more interesting. Learn how to connect in a way that feels natural instead of forced. Because when you do that, the same people who once rejected you might start seeing you in a completely different way. And that's when you realize rejection isn't the end. It's just a signal that it's time to level up. 10. The key to attraction. Stop chasing. Start leading. Most men make the mistake of chasing women instead of leading interactions. They overthink every text. They try to impress her with compliments and gifts. They put all their energy into getting her attention, instead of living their own life. And the result? She loses interest. Because the second a woman feels that a man is too focused on winning her approval, she starts seeing him differently. Here's the truth. Attraction isn't about convincing a woman to like you. It's about being the kind of man who naturally draws people in. That's why the men who are always chasing never seem to get what they want. But the men who stand out, they don't chase. They lead. They move at their own pace. They set the tone of the interaction instead of waiting for permission. They're confident enough to know that they bring value to the table. And that's what makes people want to be around them. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how some men don't seem to put in much effort, yet women naturally gravitate toward them? It's not luck. It's mindset. When a man carries himself with quiet confidence, when he doesn't overthink, doesn't seek constant reassurance, and doesn't put a woman on a pedestal, he instantly becomes more intriguing. Women don't want a man who waits for them to make all the decisions. They want a man who knows his own path and lets them be a part of it. So instead of asking, "How do I get her to like me?" start asking, "Am I becoming someone who naturally attracts the right kind of people?" Because when you shift your mindset from chasing attention to leading with confidence, that's when people start noticing you in a completely different way. And the moment you stop waiting for approval and start owning your presence, that's when attraction happens effortlessly. Here's the reality. Attraction isn't about trying harder, proving yourself, or chasing approval. It's about understanding how people connect, how confidence shapes perception, and how creating genuine chemistry makes all the difference. Many men spend years wondering, why don't things ever work out for me? When the truth is, they've been focusing on the wrong things. Women, like anyone else, are drawn to confidence, leadership, and emotional connection. If you approach interactions with self-assurance instead of seeking validation, people will naturally respond differently to you. If you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, instead of hoping for approval, you'll naturally attract the right kind of attention. If you stop chasing and start leading, you'll stop worrying about whether you're good enough and start realizing your own value. Attraction is built on authenticity, confidence, and presence. And the moment you start focusing on that, you'll notice a shift. Not just in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt like you did everything right, but the connection just wasn't there? Drop a comment and share your thoughts. I'll be reading and responding. Let's have an honest conversation. Because once you understand how attraction really works, you'll never see it the same way again.